In 1953, in fact, the CIA secretly sponsored its first full-scale coup in Iran, and as a result, the USA kept control of one of the largest oil producers in the world.
Iran was important for two reasons. It had oil, and it had a 1,000-mile border with the Soviet Union, now Russia.
Today, an in-depth look at a very big story, Iran and the CIA.
The BBC and the Voice of America radio station have been harshly criticised by Iranian officials who accuse the broadcasters of fueling violence after the disputed re-election of President Ahmadinejad.
The CIA has received secret presidential approval to mount what is known as a black or covert operation to destabilize the Iranian regime.
In April 1953, Alan Dulles, the CIA director, secretly set aside $1 million to get rid of Mossadegh by any means possible.
Officials described the CIA's Iranian plan as non-lethal, involving a coordinated campaign of propaganda broadcasts, placement of negative newspaper articles. The U.S. has been secretly encouraging a Pakistan-based militant group which has carried out a series of attacks on Iranian military units.
They organized renter mobs to go through the street shouting against Mossadegh and so on. They pumped up the opposition, and together with the British, they made it work.
That the Western media helped engineer post-election unrest as protests in Tehran continue.
Mohammad Mossadegh was overthrown by a mob paid by the CIA and loyal to the Shah. The CIA had successfully overthrown its first government.
After the coup, Iran became a kind of American base, and the Shah just became an American puppet. And all disaffection, all opposition, all nationalism, all neutralism was simply crushed. The British, who were deeply involved in this intelligence coup in Iran, we wanted access to Iranian oil. So between us, we quite deliberately and viciously overthrew the Prime Minister, Mr. Mossadegh.
The officials say President Bush gave his approval with the formal signing of a presidential finding, a secret document that authorized the CIA to act against Iran.
The U.S. strongly condemns all forms of terrorism. We do not sponsor any form of terrorism in Iran.
Any action, lethal or non-lethal, that is U.S. government sponsored, but the U.S. government is hiding its sponsorship,
says it fits in with overall U.S. policy.
I can't confirm or deny whether such a program exists or whether the President has signed it, but it would be consistent with an overall American approach of trying to find ways of putting pressure on the regime.
The former Assistant Secretary to the U.S. Treasury in the Reagan administration, Craig Roberts, has put his bid in as well. He says it's all part of a major destabilization plan ordered by the U.S.
What we can say without doubt is that this attack bears the fingerprints of America.
The CIA has been conducting a destabilization plan within Iran for the last 2 years.
But it's a plan to destabilize. It's a plan that uses information, television, broadcasts, newspaper articles to pressure the regime.
There's these outside influences that are trying to make the best or the worst, in this case, of a situation that should best be left to the Iranian government.
We are seeing the fruits of an orchestrated protest that takes advantage of the youth in Tehran.
This has all the markings of the Open Society Institute, of George Soros, and also the National Endowment for Democracy, where George Bush funneled about $400 million into this operation to influence the opposition movement against the Iranian government.
Meanwhile, CNN has broadcast an interview with a so-called anonymous witness of Wednesday's protests in Tehran's Baharistan Square. However, the report is not in conformity with the footage Press TV reporters obtained. The information given by the witness is false and unfounded.
We saw that CNN really had trouble prying itself away from coverage of the demonstrations in Tehran to cover what was a terrible metro train accident here in Washington. So you have to also ask, what is the motivation behind all this intense coverage by CNN and MSNBC and Fox News? It seems like there is a coordinated and concerted effort to try to stir things up using the Western media.
Compared the footage that our Press TV cameraman was on the scene today, compared to what is being reported in the media and CNN, and we challenge our, well, of course, their fellow media people to reconsider their sources. Post-election unrest in the Iranian capital, Tehran, has killed 20 people, including 8 Basij members. Press TV has learned from informed sources that all the Basijis killed by gunfire. This indicates that there were gunmen fomenting unrest among the protesters.
Propaganda is, most people don't realize, one of the most important parts of the CIA's job.
Iran's intelligence ministry says it has arrested several foreign nationals in connection with the recent post-election riots. The intelligence minister, Gholam Hosseini Mohseni Ajayi, says some detainees have British passports. Ajayi adds some people with links to Western countries and Israel had planned a series of bombings across Iran in the lead-up to the June 12th presidential election. He has accused Britain of stirring up unrest in Iran. The intelligence minister has also blamed riot-related deaths on agitators who encourage illegal rallies after the election.
The CIA did what it's always done very well. It bought newspapers, it bought periodicals, it bought army officers, it bought intelligence. It just dished out a great deal of money. The CIA has never been short of money, and they spent millions of dollars in Iran to bring about a coup.
That's what happens in elections. I've voted for the losing side many, many times, and it's always a disappointment. But you just have to dust yourself down and be ready to fight another day. I don't think it's accurate to say that the previous presidents folded their tents and bowed before the Western powers. I don't think that's fair. But it's certainly true that most Iranians, it seems, value the fact that Ahmadinejad is quite a defiant character so far as the big powers attempting to bully Iran is concerned. The truth of the matter is that Ahmadinejad looks like, talks like, and is like the people from the poor mass of the citizenry of Iran. And some of the rich people in Iran don't like that. They'd rather that the wealth was spent on them. It's very similar to Venezuela. The same kind of people who hate Ahmadinejad are the same kind of people who hate President Hugo Chavez, and the same people who love Chavez seem to love Ahmadinejad.